Hi, Gloria Donahue with Nana's Cookery, and welcome to the kitchen. We're going to be making blueberry pie today with a lattice crust. Hi, Gloria Donahue with Nana's Cookery back in the kitchen. Welcome or welcome back. It's always good to have you. I'm going to make a blueberry pie today. And blueberries are something I've always loved. Wild blueberries. We always called them Maine berries, although I picked them in New Brunswick. They also grow in Quebec. They're little and much smaller than the cultivated berries. And now, I used to buy them in cans actually, but now I buy them frozen. Wyman Blueberries makes them in a great big bag. And so they give you instructions on either thawing them in the microwave on high, or letting them sit for a couple of hours. Then you put them through a colander because there will be juice. So then you save a little of the juice. So what we've done here is I have mixed 3/4 of a cup of sugar, 2 tablespoons of cornstarch, 2 tablespoons of flour, half a teaspoon of cinnamon, and now I'm going to, and I have 2 tablespoons of the blueberry juice. This is the blueberries. We're going to add it all in there in the bowl. I've already made a pie crust. And that pie crust, you can use any pie crust you want, any one that you really like. But honestly, I would suggest that you look at the very first video I ever made, which is the most popular video I ever made, day after day. It is a pie crust made with canola oil. And it is very easy to use and very flexible, and you can use it for darn near any pie that you've ever made. Now, as you can see, this is quite juicy. The other thing about a blueberry pie is if you've heard me talk before, I may decide at 3 o'clock to make a pie to have for dinner that night. Blueberry pie really isn't that pie. If you're going to make this pie for dinner, you should make it earlier in the day. It needs a little more time to settle, or it will be very juicy when you cut it. Now, by the next day you cut it, and there's almost no juice. It comes out pretty solid. So I like it in between, where there's still some juice, but it doesn't look like you're eating blueberry soup. So we're going to see. This is a lattice crust. And what you do is make your pie crust. Make it for a double crust, but then divide it in half, roll out. This is a 9-inch pie plate. I've already made the crust and put it in. I haven't finished the edges because I won't do that till I put the lattice on. And lattice, another name for that, it's really just a basket weave. I have looked on the computer to see, I thought, well, why are people having trouble with a lattice? I look at 10 different sites and they all have slightly different things about it. Really, it is strips done in a basket weave. Make sure you don't that you don't roll the dough too thin, because you are going to be lifting it, so it has to have a little body to it. Also have something to loosen the crust. I do my crust between wax paper, so I'm going to loosen it with this offset spatula. I also have, you can do it with just a little straight edge. I happen to have one that has a little ratchet edge, and that's what I've always used. You can do it about 1 inch, I think, is probably about the right thing. Your dough must be rolled out large enough to cover the interior of the circle of that pie. And when you cut the strips, your shorter strips are going to be used then on the side of the pie, and then your longer strips are going to be in the middle. But it's not a difficult thing. And I'm just going to go down, just going to show you here, and we're just going to do it about 1 inch, I guess. It's either going to be 4 or 5 each across, and it just kind of depends when you look at it, how close you want it. You like to see the pie peek through, so you don't want to cover the whole thing. I have seen a recipe with apple pie, and I made it, that had a lattice crust. I did not think it was very successful in this regard. When you make an apple pie, those apples shrink. Unless those apples have been cooked ahead of time, they shrink. And so what I had is a dome of my lattice, because that was firm in place when when it started to bake, and then the apples had sunk. So I like it on other fruits. And a lattice crust is really used, I think, exclusively with a fruit pie. Apricot, peach, plum, blueberry, cherry, that type of thing. So now I've cut them, and now I'm going to put my filling in my pie. I'm going to use a great big spoon for that. The other thing, you have to be very careful with blueberry. I love it, but it stains. I will have to put bleach on my counter where I had blueberries. I had looked like I was digging in the dirt when I was manipulating the berries. I had to put some bleach on my hands. It can be death on your clothes, so just be careful with it. At the same time, it's really wonderful. So now we're going to put this filling in. There we are. We're just going to spread that out. And now I'm going to start lifting the lattice strips. And again, people do it slightly different ways. Some people do the whole one way and then go back. I sort of do it, I start. Now see, as I go in, I need the longer strips. So I'll do maybe 3. Now I'm going to go back, and I think I'll start in on a shorter side. Again. So I'm going to go across. Now it's going to go over that one. So then it has to go under this one. See, just a simple basket weave, that's all it is. So then I'm going to put this one has to go under, that goes over, this goes under. It's just back and forth, and that's really all it is. It's not difficult. Just keep track. It is funny though, I was up at my daughter's one time, and I was talking about my lattice crust, and sure enough, I had made a mistake, which my nephew saw. I didn't have it. I had a place where it didn't go under over, so it is possible to make a mistake, but just pay attention. But it's not a big deal. Again, just think, if it went under, it must go over. So now I'm going to have to put 2 back. Again, and this is why they can't be too thin, because you have to be moving them and you don't want them to break. I mean, pastry is delicate. It's not. There we go. Let's see. I think we'll just do 2 more. So I want to put that one back and this one back. Put that there. Bring that back. We'll do this. This will be our last one. So if that's over that, then I want to bring this back and this back. That's a lattice crust, folks. And it's really not difficult at all. You don't really finish the pie edges until you get the lattice on, because you can see you have all these strips. So now I'm just going to go around and pinch. Now I'm just going to pinch it in, and what that will do is then that incorporates those lattice strips into the regular pie crust. And if you have a feeling that it's too thick in some place, you can change that. Or I think it's a little thin there. I'm just going to patch that a little. Come around, incorporate those strips. There we go. Now I'm going to use the ends of those, a little short on my regular crust. The advantage of my pie crust, honestly, is that it is so flexible that you can really work with it. Regular butter crust that you have to chill and then roll out. It rolls out and it's really nice, but it is not very flexible. This is extremely flexible. If you go to, again, it's my very first video. It's so simple to make this pie crust. Honestly, you can decide at 3 o'clock you want to have a pie for dinner. There are many different ways to finish a pie crust. I would say typically I just do this. It's just this thumb and finger and just go around. And you don't want that crust to be too thin or too thick there around. You want it to be weighty enough to be good, but not overwhelmingly crust. Okay, now I do different things sometimes. This time I'm going to use a little half and half that I have around. Sometimes I just use milk. You can do an egg yolk or a little egg yolk and milk, a little something on the top there, and then I'm going to put a crystal sugar, and that just makes it a nice finish. And if a little bit gets, don't worry if you get a drop in the pie, and don't worry about smoothing it out to make sure that it's all identical. Just try to do a good consistent job. And this crystal sugar, I use a lot, I would say, for a couple things. I use for cookies and for a lattice crust pie, and it's different. I think this is just called crystal sugar. It's Parlzucker. There are different names. This happens to be clear, but I'm just going to sprinkle it over, and that cream will help keep it on. And again, just gives it a nice little finish. Obviously, if you don't have this, you don't have to do this. It's not crucial. It's just a nice addition. We're going to put this in the oven at 400. You always put a pie in the lower rack of your oven. You want to get that bottom crust nicely cooked. You're going to look for browning, obviously, of the crust. This doesn't often happen to me, but if you feel that it's getting too brown and yet it's not quite done, you could always put foil, or they sell some pie cover things to go around the edges. But honestly, I find I don't really need it. This is going to go in the oven at 400 for 40 to 50 minutes.